Long-time supporter of the Brexit cause. Welcome to you indeed. Well, first of all, what do you think of the breaking news that there isn't going to be this meaningful vote tomorrow evening? You think that's the right decision by the government?
Well, I think it's quite extraordinary. We've heard minister after minister only on yesterday saying this morning even saying that it's going after 4 days of full debate to postpone the vote. It's a bit of a nonsense, really. I mean, what's going to be added by postponing the vote? Don't understand it.
Well, a suggestion, I suppose, that the Prime Minister and other ministers could go back to the European Union and get some form of words that might be acceptable to people like you about the backstop.
But I thought the whole point was that this was the deal. It couldn't be altered. We've heard that not only from our Prime Minister, but we've also heard it from the European Union. So I don't see how that's going to change, unless, of course, what we were being told originally wasn't true.
So what would swing you around to supporting a version of this deal?
Well, I don't think I would be able to support a version of this deal. I mean, we need to go back and have a Brexit that people voted for. In other words, we need not to have a political declaration, but a firm decision on what our future relationship is going to be in order that people can make that decision. We can't vote on something that's just a wish list which could be interpreted in hundreds of different ways.
And no transition period.
Well, the transition period is an interesting one, because if the Prime Minister was to go back and get a free trade deal with the European Union, which comes in after a transition period, you know, absolutely time-limited transition period, that would be perfectly acceptable. But we seem a long way from that at the moment, because we're being told that the agreement can't be renegotiated.
I mean, you're a parliamentarian. Where does this leave the whole process? Because we've got a series of deadlines. We've got the 21st of January, where the government's supposed to say what it's doing if there is no agreed deal. We've got the deadline of the 29th of March. We've got the 15-day period if this is voted down for the government to come back. So is it just going to go on like this chaos for the next few weeks?
Well, one of the things we thought that this vote was going to do was crystallise things. We're either going to have the deal or we're going to move forward in some other way. Now, putting off the vote, I don't think will change anything. When the vote occurs, I think exactly the same thing will happen. The deal will be defeated. We're only 100+ days from coming out of the European Union, so I guess it gets us a bit nearer to what I'd call a clean global Brexit. In other words, coming out without a trading agreement with the European Union.
Because there are those who are saying, well, actually, what we're really seeing is that the majority of MPs never wanted Brexit. They've always thought it's a bad idea. And perfectly legitimately, that side of the argument is beginning to assert itself over your side of the argument and the majority in the referendum.
Well, what I would normally argue, of course, Parliament is sovereign. We must do what Parliament wants. But, of course, on this one occasion, Parliament took the decision to delegate to the British people whether we were in or out of the European Union. Therefore, those members of Parliament that voted for that should honour that and implement the referendum result. And that's what they're failing to do. And that's rather undemocratic.
Maybe undemocratic, but what do you think the risk is that we will either end up with a people's vote voting to remain, or possibly even Parliament doing what the European Court of Justice says it can do now?
Well, it can only happen if the government tabled something to help people's vote happen or keep us in the EU. So it's entirely in the power of the government. Parliament can't, as you know, can't put legislation forward. So it seems to me, unless the government changes its mind, we're either going to get a revised deal which Parliament can accept, or we're going to come out on a clean global Brexit.
What about sitting on Christmas Day for the first time since Cromwell here?
I think that's highly unlikely, but then much of this is highly unlikely, so it's possible.
Peter Bone, thank you very much indeed.